It was a bright, sunny morning when Yusuf, a humble and hard-working farmer, clenched his calloused hands around a small box in his pocket. After 30 years of marriage, he wanted to surprise the love of his life, his wife. He knew this gift had to be special as the promise he had made to love her forever. Yusuf had saved for years, faced many challenges, but today he was determined. It was the moment to make his wife feel like the most special woman in the world. Yusuf had never stepped foot inside a luxury store before. The shiny, dazzling storefronts intimidated him. But his determination was stronger. With cautious steps, Yusuf walked through those doors, unaware that something so simple could turn into a nightmare. As soon as he entered, he found himself right in the center of a humiliating situation, while everyone around him watched in silence. But there was someone there, someone who never took their eyes off him, someone who would soon change everything. Yusuf approached the counter and carefully examined the rings displayed, searching for the one that could symbolize all the love he felt for his wife. Before he could say a word, he noticed the judgmental stares from people all around him. "Can I help you?" asked the salesman, his tone cold and filled with disdain as he crossed his arms, sizing Yusuf up from head to toe. "I'd like to see a ring. Something special for my wife," Yusuf replied, his voice firm but tinged with nervousness. Reaching into his pocket, he carefully pulled out the tin where he had stored his savings. But the salesman's face quickly changed as he saw the dented tin. "You're serious? You want to buy a ring here with that?" the salesman said, sneering. Yusuf stayed calm. "I've been saving for years. This gift is important to me. Please show me that ring over there," he said, pointing to a simple yet elegant model in the showcase. But instead of helping, the salesman only laughed, loud and mean. He threw his head back, then turned to his co-workers. "Did you hear that? He thinks he can buy something here with his tin can money." The customers in the store began to laugh. Some whispered to each other, others openly stared at Yusuf with disdain. One of the employees chimed in loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Does he think this is a market? Maybe he wants to trade some chickens for jewelry." The laughter grew louder. Even so, Yusuf didn't back down. He tightened his grip on the tin but kept his head held high. "I worked hard to be here today. I have money. Maybe not as much as you expect, but I can pay for this ring." The salesman laughed again, this time even louder. "Look at you. Those clothes. Those hands. Do you really think you belong here? Honestly, I don't even know how they let you in." Yusuf's face burned with shame, but he didn't back down. "I just want to buy a special gift for my wife. I don't need you to treat me like this." The salesman stepped forward, glaring at him. "You know what? Maybe you need a mirror. Then you'll realize you'll never be a customer in a place like this. Get out before we have to call security." Yusuf tried one last time to explain. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I just want something special for my wife." But the salesman, now impatient, slapped Yusuf's hand away from the counter. Not hard, but the humiliation felt worse than a physical blow. "I told you to leave. You'll dirty something with those hands. Go find a little shop that's more suited to you. Maybe down at the corner market." For a moment, the entire store fell silent. Then, the laughter erupted again. Yusuf, defeated, lowered his head and began walking toward the door, trying to hide his shame. As Yusuf walked away, trying to hold back tears, a figure in the corner of the store, previously unnoticed, slowly stood up. A man, dressed simply, adjusted his jacket and began walking toward the counter where the salesman was still laughing. When the man finally stopped next to the counter, the store became completely silent. The voice that followed was calm but firm. "Now it's my turn to speak." All eyes turned to the man in shock and curiosity. It was Keanu Reeves, and what he did next would change everything inside that store. Keanu had been quietly sitting in a corner, wearing simple clothes and a baseball cap to stay unnoticed. He had observed everything unfold with sharp, unwavering eyes. His expression showed clear discomfort as he couldn't stand the scene before him, the humiliation Yusuf was facing. Still, Keanu waited. Timing was everything. As Yusuf walked past him toward the door, head hung low, Keanu stood up slowly, adjusting his cap. He followed Yusuf outside, leaving behind the laughter and murmurs of the store. Yusuf stood on the sidewalk, taking deep breaths, trying to push away the humiliation and defeat. The cruel words of the salesman echoed in his mind, blending with the sound of mocking laughter from the customers. "Hey!" came a calm, firm voice from behind him. Yusuf turned to see a tall man with a welcoming yet unassuming appearance. He didn't recognize Keanu immediately. All he noticed was the kindness in the stranger's eyes. "I saw what happened there," Keanu said. "They shouldn't have treated you like that." Embarrassed, Yusuf tried to brush it off. "Maybe they were right. Maybe I don't belong in a place like that." "That's not true," Keanu replied firmly, his tone kind but certain. "You have every right to be anywhere you choose, and to be treated with respect." Yusuf hesitated, but the sincerity in Keanu's eyes gave him the courage to speak. "I just wanted something special for my wife. We've been married for 30 years, and I saved for a long time to buy that ring. I didn't think it would be this hard." Keanu crossed his arms and thought for a moment. "You love your wife a lot, don't you?" "More than anything," Yusuf answered softly. Keanu nodded, a small smile on his face. "Well, I can help you with that." And with those words, something shifted. Aisha's eyes shimmered with emotion as he said, "She's been by my side through the worst times, and I wanted to show her that even after all this time, her love still means everything to me." Keanu smiled softly and replied, "That's the most valuable thing there is. More valuable than any ring in that store." Aisha shrugged, trying to hold back tears. "But I wanted her to have something beautiful, something that shows how special she is." Keanu placed a hand on Aisha's shoulder and with a determined look said, "Let's go back in there. This can't end like this." Aisha hesitated. "I don't think I can face them again. They'll trust me." But Keanu gave him a reassuring smile, saying, "I'll handle it." The two began walking back toward the store, drawing curious glances from passers-by. Aisha still didn't understand who this man was, but there was something different about him, something that gave him a renewed sense of courage. As they approached the store's glass doors, Aisha glanced at Keanu, who nodded, as if to say, "It's going to be okay." Inside, the salesman was still laughing with a group of colleagues, completely unaware of what was happening outside. Keanu's expression shifted, his usual calm now mixed with determination. Aisha hesitated just before entering, but Keanu placed a steady hand on his back. "You've done nothing wrong. Remember that." As they walked through the doors, the room fell silent. Customers stopped what they were doing, sensing something important was about to happen. The contrast between Aisha's worn clothes and Keanu's composed, confident stride was striking. Everyone in the store turned to watch. Keanu locked eyes with the salesman, who was mid-laugh. Slowly, the salesman's grin faded, sensing the quiet shift in the room. The salesman asked, "Can I help you?" His tone now confused. But Keanu didn't answer right away. He stepped closer to the counter, his calm presence filling the room with tension. The salesman glanced nervously at his colleagues, unsure of what to do. Aisha stood slightly behind Keanu, unsure of what would happen next. Keanu leaned casually against the counter, but his voice was steady and sharp. "I couldn't help but notice how you treated this man," Keanu began, never breaking eye contact with the salesman. "Do you always treat your customers this way, or was today special?" The salesman blinked, caught off guard. I didn't mean to." Keanu raised his hand, cutting him off. "You didn't mean to? That's interesting, because it looked pretty intentional to me." The room was utterly silent. Some customers began whispering to each other, recognizing Keanu. Aisha shifted uncomfortably, but Keanu glanced back at him briefly, offering a reassuring nod. Keanu turned back to the salesman, his tone now firm. "You had the audacity to humiliate this man, someone who came here with nothing but respect and determination. You laughed at him, mocked him, and tried to make him feel small." The salesman's face turned red as he stammered, I didn't think. Didn't think." Keanu's voice rose slightly. "But it's time you learned something. True worth has nothing to do with money or appearance." Keanu straightened up, his calm demeanor replaced by a presence of authority. "Now let's see that ring again." The salesman hesitated, glancing nervously at his colleagues and the growing crowd of onlookers. Slowly, he reached for the ring. But his hands trembled as Keanu's eyes bore into him. "Because this man deserves it. And trust me, You're going to treat him with the respect he's owed." Aisha watched in awe, still unsure of who this mysterious man was. The room seemed to hold its breath. The salesman, pale, handed over the ring, his confidence shattered. What happened next would not only change Aisha Day, it would change the lives of everyone in the store. The store doors swung open again, and Aisha stepped inside, this time with Keanu Reeves beside him. Keanu's confident demeanor contrasted sharply with Aisha's nervousness, but now there was something different, a sense of support. Every eye in the store turned to them, including the salesman who had humiliated Aisha moments earlier. The salesman squinted, not immediately recognizing Keanu, and smirked with mockery. "Oh, back again. Think you'll get treated differently this time." Keanu stepped forward, positioning himself between the salesman and Aisha. His gaze was cold and resolute. "What you did was unacceptable," Keanu said, his voice calm but firm. "Treating someone with disrespect just because you think they don't belong here, well, that says more about you than it does about him." The salesman hesitated, but tried to keep his arrogant tone. "Sir, with all due respect, this store has standards. We can't waste time on people who clearly can't afford it." Keanu's expression turned into a sly smile. "Standards? It seems the only standard here is a lack of humanity." He glanced around at the other customers and employees, who were now fully focused on the scene. "You think you can judge people by how they look? Is that what you call luxury?" Keanu turned to Aisha and asked, "Which ring did you choose?" Aisha pointed to the simple ring that had caught his eye earlier. Keanu walked to the counter and locked eyes with the salesman. "I'd like him to see that ring now." Reluctantly, the salesman picked up the ring and placed it on the counter. His movements are stiff and uneasy. Keanu picked up the ring and held it out to Aisha. "Is this what you want to give your wife?" Aisha nodded, his eyes welling up with tears. "It's perfect." Keanu placed the ring back on the counter and looked at the salesman, his tone sharp. "You know, under normal circumstances, I'd buy this ring right now. But I have a question for you." He leaned slightly closer to the counter. "You work on commission here, don't you?" The salesman stammered, trying to respond. Yes, but..." Keanu smirked. "I see. What a mistake. What a huge mistake." The room fell silent. The salesman's eyes widened in panic before he could respond. Keanu turned to Layla, speaking loud enough for everyone to hear. "Let's leave. Your love's money doesn't belong in a place like this." Layla and Keanu walked out of the store, ignoring the surprised stares and whispers behind them as they strolled down the street. Keanu noticed another jewelry store, a smaller and cozier shop with a welcoming feel. They stepped inside, and a smiling attendant greeted them warmly, asking how she could help. Layla shared his story, his voice still heavy with emotion. The attendant listened carefully and smiled with real kindness. "I think I have the perfect ring for you," she said, leading them to a special display. Layla's eyes lit up when he saw a ring even more beautiful than the one in the first store. And best of all, the attendant treated him kindly and with respect. Keanu watched from the side, a satisfied smile on his face, as Layla carefully counted out his savings to pay for the ring. Keanu quietly covered the rest of the money, so Layla wouldn't notice. For Keanu, this wasn't about the money. It was about giving back the dignity to a man who deserved so much more. Before leaving the new store, Layla held the ring in his hands and looked at Keanu with heartfelt gratitude. "I'll never forget what you did for me today." "Thank you," Layla said. Keanu smiled, placing a hand on Layla's shoulder. "The love you have for your wife is already the most valuable gift you can give her. This ring is just a symbol of that." As they stepped outside, Keanu paused and glanced back at the jewelry store where they had been treated badly. With a firm gaze, he said, "Sometimes people need to learn the hard way that a person's worth isn't in what they wear or how much money they have." By the next morning, the story from the luxury store started spreading online. Someone had secretly recorded part of the interaction between Keanu, the salesman, and Layla. The video quickly went viral, gaining attention from people all over the world. It showed the moment when Keanu said, "What a mistake! What a huge mistake!" The clip became famous as a powerful message against arrogance and prejudice. People from all walks of life shared the video, inspired by Keanu's kindness toward Layla. One person wrote, "This is what it means to use your fame for good." Keanu is an example of humility and humanity. Another commented, Layla love and courage brought tears to my eyes. We need more stories like this. The incident received so much attention that it reached the management of the luxury store. The store's owner, a big businessman, felt the need to speak out. He held a press conference and said, "We deeply regret what happened in our store. This is not the kind of behavior we promote, and steps have been taken to ensure it won't happen again. The employee responsible has been fired." Meanwhile, Layla returned to his modest farm with a ring in hand, ready to surprise Zara. He had no idea how big his story had become. He felt a sense of peace, knowing he had achieved his goal, thanks to Keanu's help. That evening, Layla prepared a simple yet heartfelt surprise for their 30th wedding anniversary. He decorated their backyard with candles and flowers, creating a warm, intimate setting under the stars. Zara, surprised and amazed, stepped outside. "Aisha, what's all this? Did you do this all by yourself?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with emotion. Layla smiled softly. "It took some effort, but it's nothing compared to everything you've done for me over the past 30 years. Sit down, there's something I need to tell you." As Zara sat at the table, Layla held her hands. His voice trembled slightly, but every word came from his heart. "Zara, our life has been simple, but full of stories. We've had hard times, nights when we didn't know what the next day would bring. But through it all, you've been my strength. You've stood by me, even when I had nothing to offer but my love." As Layla and Zara quietly celebrated their renewed vows, the story of their love and Keanu's actions continued to inspire people around the world. Zara gently squeezed Layla's hand and smiled encouragingly. "This is your chance to show the world what love and dignity really mean." Meanwhile, back at his home, Keanu sat in silence, watching the viral video again. A faint smile crossed his face as he replayed the moment when Layla stood tall in the face of humiliation. Sometimes, he thought aloud, the greatest luxury in life isn't found in expensive things or extravagant places. It's in love, courage, and humanity. What Layla taught me, Keanu thought, is that a person's worth should never be measured by what they wear or what they carry in their pocket. And I hope we all remember that. If you enjoyed this story, share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories. I'll see you in the next video.